Shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. Um, welcome to the live stream. I wasn't really planning on doing one today, but I realized that we needed to have a discussion about what it looks like when the two-thirds are losing. So, I'm not going to waste any time. I know people will go back and catch it from the beginning because y'all know I don't like to waste y'all's time. However, I did a live stream earlier. The link is in my shorts or something like that. And the host said this is the very first live stream of all Jews. And it was me and of course three Gentiles. And I realized that the two-thirds skin folk and kinfolk, shalom, shalom, this is what losing looks like. A ethnic Jew put me in the same category with his other ethnic Jews. Now, I've been on that show a bajillion times, like a literal hundred, like so many times I've been on that show. And I've never been put in that category, not once. Now, I usually, stick to black issues, which of course I did today. I just put them in a slightly different perspective than they had thought about, obviously, because Gentiles being Gentiles. But I was just like, wait a second, this is different. This is a different situation. And some of the two-thirds are awake, but I'm just specifically thinking about the hidden hand ones, the ones who are running the show. So I just once that happened, I was like, let me just think about how many losses have the two-thirds taken in the last few days. And I can give you three right now off the top of my head. If you watch Black Magic, Brother Rich's channel, for the last 3 nights in a row, he has had on people on his channel that in various ways or forms identify our people as indigenous in general. Like last night, he had on Baba Haru, who was really, really good, and he said something. Of course, the sister said, "You got to go watch the replay." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go take a look at it." And he said something towards the end. I mean, the last 30 minutes, yes, that one was really good too. I'm going to get to that. The last 30 minutes of the one yesterday is when he really dropped all the information because he said a few things. One thing he said was, he's friends with people who are Hebrew Israelites, and he said to them, you know, I don't have any beef with you guys. It's just I was here before that. So my people were the one that, did all the good stuff or whatever and helped out Moses and all this stuff is what he said. And I was like, I hadn't thought about it in that way because while we have people of color and indigenous people to this planet arguing over where we came from, the point of the matter is, you know, if we were in a reincarnation cycle, we could have arrived for our first incarnation at different times. It doesn't mean that the entire population of the planet was here from the very beginning. That doesn't even make sense. What would make more sense is that, as a few people got here and got things going, then more spirits from different realms wanted to incarnate as original beings from this planet, or however that process work of who was selected to incarnate here and who didn't. So maybe we do have people who have been here since the beginning. Maybe some more souls showed up in the whole Egyptian slash Kemet one. Then we had another group that may have shown up in Egyptian slash Kemet two. Then we had another group show up maybe for the Ethiopia phase. And then you have another group that showed up a little bit, for the America. I mean, you don't know. The whole thing is This particular gentleman, Baba Haru, he was just making the point that he was here. The what he believes is from a further back cycle than what the Hebrew Israelites believe. And that made I was like, wow, that makes sense because you know it's all anything is on the table, and that makes as much sense as anything else. It's just maybe we he's in touch with the time, his point of origin. So how can I argue with this man over his point of origin if he's saying I honor your point of origin, my point of origin is here? That makes total sense. So that was another point. Then the other brother, I can't remember his name, was on Monday, Tuesday night, reminded me of one of my uncles. He was just talking about, how the mummies had cigarettes that were cocaine and tobacco. And I was like, wait a second, that's something they do in the hood. What is going on here? And he said that was one of the things that made him reconsider his whole position on, you know, people of color being from out of Africa, or being from out of America originally. And so I was like, wow, that's something that people could hear. And so put that on top of Elder Elman. I'm like, okay, so we have, and something all three of them mentioned was the in fact importance and centerpiece of black women, our people, our women as the center, like the extreme focus point of what is going on, what has happened in the past, and what's going to be happening moving forward. And all three of them talked about how we have to treat how our women need to be treated better than we're being treated right now. And so, what would it look like if the two-thirds were losing? Would it look like black man puffed up, all the older black men saying black man is everything, black man is king, black man is this? Or would the two-thirds, the hidden hand, would it look like they were losing if you have three elders 3 days in a row go on a very influential spiritual page that has a man as a moderator, I guess, for lack of better terms, and he is saying, and he's agreeing with them saying that we have to respect women more. Well, if the mother is coming, in all her rage and fury, and like Adir Bey says, uh, I think the hidden hand looks like they're taking some big hits, and these are not small hits. I mean, because you have on top of this with whatever is going on the independent side of people just saying you don't have to in my opinion, you don't have to know exactly where you're from. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to know exactly where you're from. As long as you're thinking, hey, maybe this original official story is not true. If if enough people come to the conclusion that the official story isn't true, the hidden hand has no power because they keep you in line by that official story. It's the same thing with the church. Shavi Zane did a video yesterday or today, and she was talking about, I think it was yesterday because I'm behind. She was talking about how in her video, it was a continuation of a dream that she had. And in her dream, I thought it was like super significant, but it was a woman who was the judge, and the judgment had already been decided before it was a black a melanated man, she said, in a courtroom with these three slick, Jew looking lawyers. And the judge was his mother-in-law, was a woman. And he wasn't sure because he was having problems at home or something with his daughter or whatever, and so he wasn't quite sure how the case was going to go. But he had been found to retain his property or whatever. And I was like, okay, so you mean to tell me you got melanated sisters having this kind of dream, which is a very specific kind of dream about who is going to be retaining ownership of the property and who's going to be evicted. Very, very specific. Then you have, that's another blow. That's a major blow because, again, if people have hope that the judgment will be fair towards them, even if it's, I mean, she doesn't have as many followers as Black Magic, obviously, but the point of the matter is, if you still have, you don't have our people out here in fear. Like, I don't see people out here in fear. You know what I mean? Like, and I look at Twitter, and I mean the Gentiles, yeah, they're terrified. They're obviously terrified. But the everyone else, you don't you don't have our people out here in fear. You don't have us saying, "Oh my gosh, I need to go back to the church. I need to get my life right with Jesus." So, ha 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 ha. You don't have that. You have our people kind of like, okay, well, whatever those guys are doing, I'm going to do the opposite. So they're not panicking. They're panicking. So obviously, shalom, shalom, there's nothing for me to panic about. Our people are at peace. I mean, not just us, but other, I wouldn't call them, I guess I need to differentiate between the two-thirds and the hidden hand. The two-thirds is just doing it. They're not even worried about any of this stuff. They don't. It's they're observing, but they're not. They're just doing what they always do. Keep moving it along. The hidden hand. They are very concerned. And the reason we know that they're concerned is because their reaction to Kanye has been completely overblown. Like, I saw this morning that they canceled his school that was in his mother's name. Like, and that school was funded by people who look like us. So you mean to tell me this man makes one comment about something, y'all cancel a whole school? Meanwhile, Oprah, what? How many girls was lost at her school? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the response is way too overblown. And since I know it's not, the Gentiles have no ability to do this kind of response. They're too worried about their own stuff. It's got to be people who look like us blowing it way overboard. And even on Twitter, I noticed that the people who look like us are still complaining. They're like, this is not good enough. This is that. It's like, well, if he's already lost everything, why are you worried about it? And why aren't y'all calling on Sony to cancel his contract? Yeah, thousands. No one bat an eye. Now he comes out and makes this comment, school is closed immediately, permanently. What? Who That's an overreaction. That's an overreaction. So you can tell that somebody is panicking because they are overreacting. And then I saw a little article or some Inside Edition. Somebody said, Ye wanted to name one of his album after uh Charlie Chaplin. I said, wait a second, hold, freeze, pause. Didn't Levi just post this quote about what this guy said? And now you have this come out. What is going on here? I'm telling you, this is what it looks like when the two-thirds, the hidden hand is losing. If they weren't losing, all of this overreaction would be unnecessary. They would just keep going on and they would ignore him. Yeah, people are standing with him. And it's not just like, oh, I stand with Kanye. I don't. I stand with the angels. If the angels are standing 10 toes down, I do 10 toes down with the angels. I don't care. Kanye is a vessel. We all are vessels. He could do some crazy stuff, but when I looked at his angels, like I said, I was like, oh, he's on a mission because there's no way he could be behaving like this on his own. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody acts with this much fervor, typically it's not of their own doing. They don't have it. They're just like a empty vessel, and they just got taken over, and that's what it seems like to me. And so all of these things can be discounted because you can look at your own angels and be like, there were times in my life where I say, I don't know why I'm doing any of this stuff. What is going on? What does any of this stuff mean? And you can look back and say, oh, this angel was, they were like, look, girl, you gonna have to step aside. Let's just get this thing taken care of the way it needs to be done, and the angels come in and take it over. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's like I'm trying to understand how it is that they are responding so aggressively to just one. It's not him. He don't have no whole team. Nobody is supporting him out in public. Everybody has left him again on his own. And so, why do they need to overreact with this media response? Why do they need to overreact with these cancellations? This is like trying to send a sign, don't you other Negroes leave the plantation. Like, who cares? I mean, if the economy is going to collapse anyway, then who cares about your deal with whoever, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like they want us to believe that they're going to get another 70 years, 400 years, whatever. They want us to believe that so bad that they are willing to throw this man completely under the bus. And honestly, I'm surprised he's still walking around because usually when they go after somebody this hard, a la Malcolm X, a la uh, Tupac, and the way they went after him, a la some other people, they went after. There's no way they'd still be standing. They would have paid the skin folk, you know, to, you know, okay. So let me talk about this Jay Z thing because this is another thing. It's gonna have to get to this point next. So I said this on the live stream. I just want to point this out to people. Again, Kanye has a slave contract. Literally, he cannot get out of his contract. There's the only way that he could get out of his contract is if they release him from his contract. But who got him that contract? Who got him that contract? That was Jay-Z that got him that contract. That was Jay-Z that got him that deal. So why isn't anybody calling on Jay-Z to um say something to disavow Kanye or whatever. Why isn't Jay-Z out there, calling on the label to get rid of him? If they're that upset, where's Jay-Z at? I haven't seen him make a statement. I haven't seen nobody read anything. So where is he? He's the one that created this mess because he did. He's the one that got Kanye this contract he can't get out of. So why aren't more people, even people who are not, even melanated people, where are the melanated people saying, hey, man, Jay Z, you need to do something about this? He's going off the Richter. He's going off kilter. You're going to have to get him out of this deal. We don't want him on our label anymore. Where's the people doing that? Because one thing people might not understand about labels, contracts, specifically is that when you sign a label contract, you usually sign it for a certain number of albums. But what they will typically do, like they did with Lil Wayne, is that when you get to your last album, they will never accept it. They will be like, this album sucks. This is terrible. This is that. And now they have these 360 deals. So even if you get to your last album and they won't allow you to do your thing, then they will just like every time you tour, every endorsement, everything that you do, they take a piece. That's why it's called a 360 deal because back like in the 60s, artists would make money off of doing tours. But then, with the music industry the way it was, they just started taking a piece of everything. And so, where is where is Jay-Z on this issue? Why isn't he out there calling for him to be dropped from the label if these people all feel this way? Where is he? He should be he started this mess with Kanye. He's supposed to be out there telling people, telling the label to release him. Like take him, I don't want to do business with him anymore. You don't see him quiet as a church mouse. Quiet as a church mouse. Where is he? Yeah, there's so I mean this stuff is like it's so bad. It's so bad. It really is. And it's nobody but, the hand of the most high that's just opening this up. So again, what does the two-thirds losing look like? Well, you got all the elders of the community saying we can't elevate the black man, the melanated man over the woman. That's a no go. We need to stop that. You got big leaders in the community saying that on big YouTube channels. You got Ye out there doing whatever he's doing. You have nobody paying attention to any story that they're putting out. Where people aren't really even paying attention to Kanye. They're kind of like it's like a sideshow act. Like I likened it to the whole thing with Jussie Smollett, right? Um oh, Barry, oh Lord, they had a ooh I'm gonna say out of the 70s because that era of contracts makes me very upset. 60s contracts make me a little upset, but 70s contracts were worse. Worse than 60s, but these ones I have now are just like literal slave contracts. But um, I just like Jussie Smollett, right? When that whole situation happened with him and the Subway sandwich, 2 a.m. Chicago, somehow MAGA country, whatever, black folks, just like in the Dave Chappelle skit, were kind of like, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem quite right to me. Big think on that one. Then, not too long after that, you had the NASCAR guy, Bubba Wallace. He did the same thing. Oh, there's a noose in my garage, and I'm the only black NASCAR driver, and this and that, another mulatto, and you're just like, really? Like, I mean, NASCAR, maybe, but it seems a little bit strange. That turned out to not be what he said it was, and so this whole thing with Ye would have went away if they had just ignored him, just like how they did with the George Bush thing, just like they did with the Taylor Swift thing. They didn't touch it. Just like I mean, Ye has a history of this, and every time they did it, he announced he was running for president. They just didn't touch it. Nobody said anything. Now you have this thing where he just made a couple of off-brand comments, but he made the wrong comment, and so one of the things that he said that nobody wants to discuss, and I told those Gentiles, I was like, nobody is discussing his facts. No one wants to talk about that. He said facts. Everybody is only talking about what the outcome is, but nobody's talking about the facts that he actually was was saying. And so, nobody wants to debate the facts. Nobody wants to debate who the real children of the most high are. Nobody wants to debate the facts of where our people come from. Nobody wants to debate any of those facts. They just want you to totally ignore those facts completely as if they were not said at all and only address the fact that, oh, well, what Kanye said is going to get some people killed in New York, cuz basically that's what they're talking about. Is you don't see so one of the Gentiles on the show, I will say that he was explaining, and I didn't know this, so I'm passing this along as information. He was explaining to me that when people make these comments about the Jewish people, what ends up happening is there's grandmas, old Jewish grandmas in New York who end up getting mugged and beat and stuff like that as a result of when these comments are said. They say they have an increase in this violent activity towards mostly elderly people. Now we're not going to talk about whether they deserve it or not because I feel like that's a whole nother conversation, and I was definitely not going to get into that with them. But I will say this, if that is the case, I didn't know that. I didn't know that when someone made comments like that, like a celebrity, that was the result. So I'm passing this information. I know I didn't go there with them because I knew my audience, and I wanted to get across the point that no one was talking about the facts, but I pass this as information along to you that when celebrities do this in these heavily ish communities, they do have an increase in violence. So that's just for put it in your brain. That way, if someone tries to bring it up as a talking point, you can say, oh, yeah, I heard that. But what about X, Y, and Z? I did not do that. I knew my audience. I knew my crowd. I didn't go into all of that because I felt like I wouldn't have been able to get my point across, which I did get my point across, but it would have for me in that situation, it would have created more issues. But I'm passing that along to you as information because being that I've never been in the ish community, I didn't know that that's what you know I didn't know that that's what's the result. And so this is why they're always complaining about stuff, because you've got these little communities and these people come in and they, do stuff to them, which if that's my community, I can understand why you would be concerned about that. So I just pass that along as information. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. That's just the point that was made. And this is a Gentile I've been, talking with, you know, exactly. We're not acting out of emotion, but Gentiles, ooh, you never know. Shalom, shalom, how they're going to react to some of this stuff. So I always just try to get my main point across, and leave the rest of the stuff for stuff I can have, discussions we can have at other times, because I do want to go back on that show, try and get people to, sort of come into this truth, you know. And they do, but look, I don't know. I was just passing the information along because I had actually never heard that. And I also did tell him, like, look at Kanye. He didn't grow up with white people, because, like, yeah, no, sorry. Thanks for yeah, it was, though, that was an interesting group of Gentiles. Very, very interesting. So, I did not I pointed out to him that, or to them, the panel, that Kanye is from an all black area, and he probably only had interaction with ish people in this professional experience. And if you don't grow up with these kind of people, you are prone to have experiences as an adult that don't make sense. And I gave the example of, I was, like I said, I'm from PG County, but I went to University of Maryland for undergrad, and that was the most white people I had ever seen in my whole life. And all I could think was, they're exactly the way that they portray them on TV. I mean, you can't smell TV, so it's kind of a little bit different. But other than that, that book, The Smoky God, it was copied from somewhere else. That's why they never described the smell. Because, like, if you watch something on TV, you can't smell it. You can do everything but smell it. You can describe it as exquisite detail, but you can't smell it. And that's why that book, The Smoky God, is not have any description of smell, because it was stolen from somebody else's writing. They just read it. They didn't actually experience it. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so the smell of, I mean, I don't want. I hate, this sounds like really, really bad. Yeah. See, I didn't know that. So, like, the whole, like, dorm showers, and it's hair everywhere, and, like, you know, uh, they did weird stuff. I mean, Maryland is a weird place anyway, because they were all from New York. Almost every, literally, like, every white person in New York, they come to Maryland. And so I never, shalom, shalom. I never had no experiences with no white people. I had a white best friend, but, like, that was in elementary school, and that was she was like poor, so it was a little, we were similar. But when you get to, like, a place like Maryland, everybody is super rich, and their parents got a lot of money, they go home on the weekends, that kind of stuff. And it's just like, okay, what is going on around here? These people are weird. So I had to explain to them that if you didn't grow up with these kind of people, you would just lump them all together. And we do that. That's what we do. And so it was just one of those, shalom, shalom. Yeah, they do things a little bit differently. And so I just wanted to point out to them that, you will always, and the girl, she was kind of like, well, he's been an adult for a long time. He should have a different experience. Not exactly. You know what I mean? See, I didn't find out about the whole washing situation until I went on a cruise. Now, I will tell y'all about this cruise since we're talking. I went on a cruise, MSC cruise, me and my old man, and this was his first cruise. This was a very horrible mistake that I would never ever make again, because it was a European cruise, which I did not know. So, coffee was excellent. Um, but Here's the problem. They First of all, here's the first problem. We had to ask 4 or 5 different times for washcloths. I was just kind of like, so, and it was a Hamite who was uh the little cabin cleaner, whatever, and we're like, can we get some washcloths? Like, y'all don't put washcloths in the rooms? Like, what is going on here? And so they don't put washcloths in the rooms. And I was very confused by that. And then, like, I didn't realize that beans was a breakfast food. And yeah, there was no soap. I always bring my own soap though, so I wasn't as upset about that. But I was just like, are is beans a breakfast food? Like, y'all eat beans for breakfast? And that's like the British thing, right? So I had seen it, but I never seen people eat beans for breakfast. So I was very confused about that. The food was awful, just in general. It was just awful food. And then, like, the whole speedo issue, um yeah, my old man would not eat in the dining hall at all because he's like, how can I eat with schlong next to my pizza? Like, I'm just having a problem with this. And so that was another huge, like, red flag, because these were like big titty white men with the big bellies and speedos, and it was just a disaster, I would say, all in all. So I wouldn't do, yeah, I wasn't expecting to go to Europe when I went on this cruise. The cruise left out of Tampa. I thought we was going to Jamaica, but the whole ship was like being in Europe. And it wasn't, I just say it, we had a good time. Now, we met some people. They put like almost all, like, a bunch of us colored people together, so, but all the like stragglers. So we, in our little dinner table, was like these two white guys from Boston who almost got us kicked off the boat. Anyway, then there was like this other black girl, then it was this couple from Saudi Arabia. So we had like the little mini UN at our little dinner table, and we hung out and stuff like that, and it was cool. But it was just one of those experiences that you would not believe it unless you were there. And so, I mean, of course you believe, but you would not really believe that it could be like this. Um, yeah, it was. I just the food. I just didn't understand. And then it was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. Like, they did a Michael Jackson tribute show. I won't explain to you how awful it was, but all I can say is it was awful. It was so bad that I didn't even realize it was about Michael Jackson until, like, I looked back at, like, it was like at the end and they had something, and I was like, "Oh, this was supposed to be about Michael Jackson. Okay, I get it." Especially compared to Carnival, which all their food is good and their shows are really good, and it's catered more towards our people. Um that particular yeah, when we got off the boat, now this is even worse. When we got off the boat, these men thought he was there to buy like some straight white. And I was like, why are they approaching you specifically like this? You know, look, the pet stink. Look, I listen. This live stream could be 1,000 hours if I get started talking about all the weird stuff I saw when I was in Maryland. But so I'm not. But all I will say is this: if the two if the hidden hand was winning, we'll change it from the hidden hand. I didn't want to put hidden hand in the title. I'll just say, but I'll say the hidden hand. If the hidden hand was winning, our people would still be asleep. We would be Everyone would be just watching football games like normal. everyone would be like, "Oh, there's getting ready to be a concert. Shalom, shalom. There's getting ready to be a concert. That is seeing Kim are going on tour, and we're gonna go to Coachella and all of this stuff." And I don't really see that. Like, you see some of the people on Twitter who are just, continuing on like everything is normal. But there's so many awakened people. Like, I went on to another brother's live stream shortly before this one, and it was a people in there I never seen on no other live streams, because I look and see which repeat commenters, who follows along, stuff like that. It was a lot of names I'd never seen before. So I'm like, okay, so there's a lot of people talking about all this different kind of stuff. They're going from stream to stream. You can see all different kinds of people, and they're not going back to sleep. They're working on themselves spiritually. They're asking questions. They're asking for book recommendations. They're trying to figure out, how they can do this and do that. And it's not like how it was even 6 months ago, because 6 months ago at this time you still saw a lot of people like, they were just, everything was normal. But now people are not really, that experience that Levi described. I was like, that's another, indication that, the hidden hand is losing control. Shalom, shalom. The hidden hand is losing control. You know what I mean? They no longer have the ability to run things the way that they used to. And as a result, you see that they're just getting more and more desperate in their attempts. And so I just wanted to, ask everybody, keep your eyes open for, other things. Yeah, it's different. And even within this fast, it's like I'm very exhausted. I feel like whatever it is I'm fighting at night or whatever is going on, I feel extremely exhausted. But like I don't feel despair. Meaning, like, I would say, like, my first fast, like, I didn't know what the result was going to be, and I felt more. I guess this desperate is a way of saying this. I just felt like things weren't. I wasn't getting no results. But now I'm seeing something every single day. You know, I do feel like exhausted, but I don't feel as, you know, I don't feel like, okay, this is a way, if I was losing, this is how I would feel. I feel more so like these people are going down, and every bit of tired that I am is every bit of tired that they are. They as tired as I am, they got to fight me you know as hard as they possibly can. Yeah, they do something crazy, and it's like, okay, well, I already know the gent. That's why I say this stream not even about the Gentiles. The Gentiles gonna do what they're gonna do, because they don't even know. They're waiting for someone to give them the orders. So the people who are giving them the orders are basically, they don't have anything left. They're running. I mean, even this whole thing, like, I was like exhausted yesterday, and today I pushed through, but it has been really, really exhausting. But that's why I wanted to say, like, I really see that these people, you know, these people are really not able to, accomplish what they're doing. And I definitely, um and start saying exactly what you said. It's like from this morning when I did the reading. The surrender doesn't mean that you're giving up. It's just you're letting people do, you're leaving room for the most high to operate. And so that takes me into the second part of what I wanted to discuss, because I didn't put it on here, because I didn't want, how people are. I was looking at, okay, so I have been thinking about how we actually can communicate time issues with our angels. Now, why was I thinking about that? Because I have been asking questions that involve time, like, when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? It's stuff that's for me. I need to, emotionally prepare myself for when certain things are going to happen, so that I can be emotionally prepared. And it came to me that you know, they can't convert they can't convert their time to our time. So if you're dealing with your guardian angel, their time is not the same as our time. It's just like when I realized that they might not remember what it's like to be in the physical plane, or they may have not had that experience, or it just may have been a really long time ago. And that just made me like really think like, okay, if they're unable to understand what it's like to be in the physical plane, when we ask questions related to time, which females were always asking questions related to time, they can't convert into our time either. And so we have to figure out how to convert our requests into their time. And so this is just an experiment. If we're the head, and some other people are the tail, then we have to figure out how to communicate with our we're sovereign over the elements, including the angels. We have to figure out how to communicate in a way that they understand. We can't expect them to just keep coming to us and making everything so we can understand it. We should be making an effort to communicate with them in a way that they understand. So I pulled up this chart, um, and you can look it up. And what I was looking for, um, as you can see here, it's like the amount of days it takes for a planet to make its rotation. So, for example, for us to make a full rotation, it takes 365 days. So, 1 year for us is 365 days. So, for our guardian angels, 1 year for them is 88 days, because it takes 88 days for Mercury to do a full rotation. Venus is 224 days, and it actually rotates the opposite of us. Mars is twice our time, is 687. Jupiter is 12 years. Saturn is 29 and a half years. Uranus is 84 years. And Neptune is 165 years to our 1 year. So if you need to ask your guardian angel a question, basically one of our days is four of their days, which made a lot of sense because I talk to my guardian angel a lot, right? And I use my pendulum. Sometimes I don't. But I've always felt like, man, we got to be bothering them because, I go to my guardian angel all the time. Well, if one of our days is four of their days, actually, you may only be going to them once a day in their time, because one of our days is four of their days. So if you have to ask them a time question, it's for something that they can do, then maybe, like, for example, if you're trying to figure out, oh, would this be a good day to do something, and not a date, but how long should I wait before I do something, or something like that, you could say, well, should I wait, a day in your time? Because a day in their time is 6 hours of our time, because it's for for every one of our days is four of their days. Or like if you're going to talk with Zadikiel. Okay, the condenser, I'm going to talk about that because I'm working on a condenser now. Um, it says, well, let me finish this and I'm going to talk about the condensers, because I have to ask some more questions about the condenser because of that one ingredient that seems a little bit weird. And I need to see if it's absolutely necessary. So I'll talk about that in a minute, because I'm definitely we gonna have to figure that out too. That's definitely coming down the line. Um, so like for Jupiter, one of our years is 12 of their years. So if you need Zadikiel or Jaira to do something for you, you basically have to ask for it to be done in a minute. Because a minute of her time is 3 of our days. Or you could say, like, in 30 seconds of your time, can you just pause and go and do this real quick? I need this done in the next 30 seconds, or I need this done in the next 10 seconds, because 10 seconds in Jupiter is 1 day here. Yes, because they're going much slower than we're going. even though one of their days is 10 hours. They anyway, doing the trying to figure out what the math is on all this is really really weird, but I just tell you those are the two I figured out. One 10 of our seconds is one day in Jupiter, and four of our days, no, one day here is 4 days for our guardian angels. So you can't ask a time question to the angel without knowing what sphere they're in, because that's going to affect how they answer your question. So here I am. Okay, so let me give you an example. Here I am asking Jaira to do something for me, and I ask her, can she take care of it a week? Well, a week in Jupiter's time is what? A week in Jupiter time is like a month. Well, you see, they may be able to answer exact times. Usually, what I'm looking for is a an about time, because there's still like free will issues. There's other things that may come up. You may change your mind and cause them to have to do something different. Any number of things could come up, but a lot of times I just want a general idea. Like for me, is it going to be a week? But a week in my time is not the same as a week in Jupiter's time. A week in my time is not the same as the week in the guardian angel's time. So I may be looking for to do something within, you know, a week, but a week in my guardian angel's time is like 2.5 days. So it's just like all I this is just my experiment to see if I can figure out how to communicate with them in a way that makes sense, because obviously the way that we're doing it is wrong. I mean, maybe somebody else is doing it right and I don't know, but the way that I'm doing it is wrong because I can't seem to get anything timed right. Like I'm looking for X to happen. I'm asking one thing and then another thing, and then I'm putting it. It's just the timing is not. So I'm just making a concerted effort to figure out how to communicate with them on their time. And what I got was their days are not the same as our days. They understand what a day is, but they can't you it, they can't convert it to our flesh because they don't. Again, I think this goes back to the idea of, do they understand, like, how our time works? Do they remember what our time is like? Because it's just like when you go on vacation and you don't pay attention to time anymore. You know what I mean? You just forget what time it is. And then you got to figure out how to go back to work and get up early and all that stuff. Like you go on vacation, you come back and you're like, dang. I don't even remember what it's like to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning anymore. I've been getting up with the sun, or whatever the case may be, or you've been getting up and going and laying out on the patio, on the deck, and taking a swim first thing in the morning. When you have to go back to work, you're like, dang, I don't even remember how this works. My body is totally out of sync with this. So I feel like I'm not saying that they can do it, but what I'm noticing is that when I ask time questions, I'm not get everything is just I'm getting answers, but the answers are just all over the place. They're like, one is saying yes, but it seemed a little hesitant. The other one, because my pendulum, you can tell when they're giving a strong yes versus I'm not too sure. Yeah, we could be the only ones dealing with time, which is a whole nother set of issues. So, like, I asked them if they understand our concept of time. So I assume that they understand days, minutes, hours, seconds. They have a concept of that, but it's just in their realm, it's not the same. And so if anybody I have never seen anybody talk about it like this, so I can't say that I'm getting this from anywhere other than just keep asking questions until I can figure out, because the whole thing about it is, if you're running a kingdom, which we will be running a kingdom, we got to figure out timing. You can't How can you put on a show? I come from that world. How can you put on a show if you don't know what time the show starts? You got to tell all the people they got to show up at a certain time to get a certain thing done. That's why the alignments are helpful, and the solstices are helpful because that's a celestial event. They can understand that. So if you could get into celestial events and time all your stuff with celestial events, that would make your life easier. But I mean, even that's a little shaky because I was trying to time it with the moon, and apparently, all the planets all have their own moons. You know, Yeah, it's in their time. So it's kind of like I'm just trying to figure out if I've got to put on a show. Like I said, I come from that industry. If I've got to put on a show, I got to know what time to take a break. I've got to know what time to bring on this piece of talent. I got to know what time to get the next person ready. I got to keep a checklist of everything to make the show go on smoothly. And so if I don't know how to call in this angel for this time, call in this angel for that time, how can I put on a successful show? It's going to be like I've gone to shows and you could tell that the people running the show never, I'm not saying it because I want to be in control. I'm just saying if I'm going to run a kingdom, if we're going to run a kingdom, and not necessarily for me personally, but if we are going to run a kingdom, we have to be able to it's got to be a way to put a time on things. We can't tell a person they need to show up at this time and they're on their way and then they arrive and then whatever it is that they needed to do, you don't even know what it is. You got to just try to stall. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, it just, that doesn't make sense. Like, if something is missing, like, I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't, something just doesn't seem right. Like, something just doesn't seem right. So that's what I've been trying to figure out is like, okay, how can we get a timing thing down? Not that I need an exact time, but if I know a general time, then at least I know how to conduct myself because, like I said, I'm an earth person. So, you know, I think we are missing some key tools, and I don't know what they are. I'm not professing to know anything. I just keep asking the questions because I need answers. I know how a show works. When you're running a show, everybody is on a clock. So, what is the clock that we need to be on? Yeah, they don't have the same sense of urgency. Like, I don't know if that has to do with them not understanding how Earth works, or, again, I don't. We have sovereignty over the elements. So, if we have sovereignty. Right. So, how do we even time into that? Like, how do we tie into the celestial events? Because I've been looking at the sky and looking at the events and trying to do the best that I can with that, but it feels like there's a piece still missing. Like, it's something I haven't seen in a book. I haven't heard anyone describe it. I don't even know where it comes from, but it feels like something is missing because, like I said, I've done a lot of shows before, and the Most High is the greatest director there could ever be. And so, just knowing how shows are put on, everybody, and if you do Romeo and Juliet, if that line, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, if that isn't coming at the right time, you're going to be like, what is going on with this show? This is a crazy show. Even like music. Music has a time, and that made me think of from the Smoky God. Everybody studied music for 10 years. If you study 10 years worth of music, I studied music for 20 years. If you study 10 years worth of music, you know a lot of music. And music has a time. It's 4/4, it's 3/4. People know when to do. It's with the heartbeat. It's with, you know, it's with a lot of things. And so I feel like, unfortunately, as an earth sign, like I can't get into a rhythm I can't understand. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how to get in. Shalom, shalom. I'm trying to figure out how to get into the rhythm of the universe. And I know it has something to do with music, but it's almost like trying to figure out what beat each sphere is on. So if Earth is 4/4, you know, what are the rest of them? Like, okay, so now I know that, you know, Mars is 4/1 because their 4 beats equals one of my beats. That's 4/1. That means they're running on a quarter note. Boom, 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 boom. Ours is boom, 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 boom. Theirs is boom, 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 boom. Because it's 4/1. So, and then Jupiter is what? What did I say? Like 1 to 10 to 1. So there's this, then it's really, really fast, and they move 10 hours a day. So there's this fast. I'm just trying to figure out from a musical point, or a production point, when to how the rhythm goes, because until you can, to me it just feels like it's a big chunk missing, not understanding how to communicate with somebody in their time. And I don't want to make it seem like I don't have faith or anything like that, but it's just, yeah, that's true. I just feel so lazy. I don't know. I feel like I should be doing more. If the Most High is doing all of this work for us, there's got to be somewhere we can fit in to make it easier. Because I dislike the idea of letting the Most High do all this work without at least making an effort to get. I'm relax is not. If I'm a generator, man, I can't help it. It's something about being a earth sign that makes it extremely hard, especially a Virgo Cocovite, uh very born in the hour of Jupiter, makes it very, very hard for me to just sit back and relax. That Jupiter brain, and the Jupiter must be what controls my brain, because it's always spinning. Spin, 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 spin. 10 hours is how long it takes for Jupiter to rotate. 10 hours. Spin, 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 spin. That's how my brain feels. And so I'm just trying to figure out how I can, yeah, I know. I do calm down sometimes, but when I get into like one of these little things, I just be trying to figure out, I just want to help. And I do, my intentions are, I just want to help. If I can help the Most High relieve a little bit of stress from him, all of his immaculate work that he has to do, that's what I'm trying to do. So this is just a point I've been thinking about. And whatever makes sense to people, you know I'm open for ideas, things I can research, because um right now all I've come up with, look at their rotation and figure out what their rotation is, so that there's some way that we can communicate time with them, because it's got to be a way to get time issues across, um to them, without creating too much drama. So the next thing about the fluid condensers, I'm so glad you brought that up, Miss Tammy. So here's the thing with the fluid condensers, and that's in the introduction to hermetics. So if you go and download Bardon's book, and if you need it, just send me an email. I have it. Introduction to hermetics. He discusses, like I talked about before, the magnetic fluid and the electric fluid. He discusses that in great detail. It's only a few pages. The exercises are extremely easier. Um, yes, we do need to let go, and I'm working on that, but at the same time, I want to know what I'm letting go of. Exactly what part do I let go? Like, I'm an overachiever, and I always have been. So it's just in me to be kind of like this. So it's just how I am. I really can't do anything about it. I have to do something. So doing nothing is really problematic for me. But anyway, so the fluid condensers. So in the book, he describes, like I said, the electric fluid and the magnetic fluid. And the electric and the magnetic fluid is, it's within us, so we can control our own electric fluid and our own magnetic fluid. And the way he describes the electric fluid is, like our kundalini energy through our chakras, the fire, which Baba Haru describes a excellent technique for creating that fire, which I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video and get. That he was on Black Magic's channel last night. And then the magnetic fluid is like pressure coming. It's like you feel like almost like you have to breathe underwater. So you get that whole feeling of being underwater, but then you have to like breathe. At Serpentine Fire is one of my favorite songs. Like, you have to be able to breathe underwater. So what you ideally want to be able to do is control your electric fluid in the center of your body and your magnetic fluid from the outside of the body. So that's an initiation into hermetics by Bardon. And another thing he talks about is the fluid condensers. So the fluid condenser is actually extremely simple. It's just a tincture, basically. It's the basic one that he's describes is chamomile, um yeah, chamomile leaves soaked in well, he has a process, a fast one where you can boil it or you can let it basically infuse into the alcohol extract for 20 days, 28 days. So a whole lunar cycle, and then you add some gold water to it. And so I bought gold flakes off of Etsy a long time ago. And so, but the whole thing is in his recipe, it also calls for a bit of your DNA, meaning whatever various different ways. And so I have a problem with that. I have an actual problem with that because I want to know why that is. And so I'm cool with the fluid condenser all the way up until the point where they want you to be doing stuff like that, because I want to know what the point of that is. And so because I don't want to be just spreading my DNA all around anywhere, everywhere, with whatever, for whatever reason. And once you have something like that, what does that actually mean for you in the spiritual realm? Like, I think I don't know. Like I said, I haven't actually started asking the questions on that yet because I have just done the I just have my chamomile soaking right now. It's been 3, yeah, or the other stuff from men. Um and Well, you don't want it. It's not about boiling the gold leaf. What you're trying to do is uh micronize it. So it's kind of like I make silver water, and yeah, that's weird. That's why I'm like I need to ask some more questions before I go along with that. How I think I'm gonna do it is how I make silver water. So I'm gonna take some of that see, it's going to be kind of hard um because well, what I was actually thinking about doing was taking like a little oh, this is going to sound bad. Like heating up the gold leaf and then putting it into the water, heating up a bunch of it like on a plate or something, in a pan maybe, and then dumping it all into the water so it can micronize, and then filtering it out, heating it again, and doing and making my gold water like that, because I don't have if I had two gold coins, I would do it, but I think I only have one. Yeah, I think I only have one. If I had two, I would just do it the same way I make my silver water, but I only have one. So, but if I do have a recipe for silver water if anybody wants, and I may ask if we can use silver water instead of gold water, because silver water is much easier to make. You just use two batteries and hook your the little clamps onto the ends of the like silver rods, and you set it in the water, and then it does that thing without having to you know do all this extra stuff. So that's what I think I'm going to do. But I am going to ask with my pendulum to see if I can find a recipe that will work with what we have available, because what I'm finding out in a lot of these books is with a lot of these books is that the angels are willing to accept substitutes, meaning people, we don't want substitutes. Whatever the recipe we got, that's the recipe we want to follow. But if you ask the angels, will this work? Will that work? Will this work? Will that work? Sometimes they'll say, okay, well, like with my perfume list, that's a perfect example. So, I got my perfume list a totally different way. I went and looked at a book, and then I went and looked at perfumes, and I found ones that matched the thing. And they're not the same ones that of the list that we got from the masters, which is obviously the best list, but they're ones that can fill in. And then what I did is I took all the perfumes I already had, which was a lot, and I said, well, is this one acceptable for this day? Is this one acceptable for this day? So now I have a perfume that I already have that I can wear with every single day, except for I don't have one for Lavana and I don't have one for Shabbatai. But since I know the archetypes of the angels for that day, meaning the moon can have any reflection. So on Lavana, I will wear the perfume that I wear for my day, which is Kokav, and then for Shabbatai, I wear the same perfume that I wear for Zedek because it's the most royal perfume that I have, and Solomon was a king, and he'll understand that. And so that's how I did it though. So I I try to I've always been the type of person who wants to just start with what I have, try to do what I can with what I have. And so like I said, sometimes there's the way that they have in the book is not the only way it can be done. And if you guys remember from the book of remembrance, in the little book of John the Revelator, it said, "Come to the Most High, and He will give you, the hidden parts." And so, for me, a lot of the hidden part has been substitution. So, just like it says for some of these things, um, you're supposed to always try to meet with these angels, during the power hours for that day. Well, I ask for substitutions when I meet with the angels. Like once I do it the right way the first time, I say, "Well, can I come back and meet with you during the hour of my birth?" And they always say that's fine. So I always look for ways to make it more accessible because that's what they really don't want you to know. What's in the book is hard enough to understand. Then once you start making it accessible for you, that's what they really, really don't want you to have that information because it makes the angels more accessible. They're not way out there somewhere. They're here within you. So if they're here within me, then I can find the power hour for me, which for me would be my time of birth, and we'll do it like that until I can, unless there's for some reason I need to talk to them more frequently. And if we understand what their timing is, meaning if I know that my guardian angel one day for me is 4 days for them, I don't feel so bad going to my guardian angel 3 or 4 times a day because really it's 3 or 4 times a day for me, but it's maybe once a day for them. That makes me feel better about my relationship with the angels. And so I just try to apply that to as many different things that I can. And most of what I do is quite different from how other people do stuff. And I'm just sharing with you what I'm trying so that if it makes sense, you can see if it works for you. Everybody is different, and everybody's relationships with the angels and relationship with the Most High is different. And I just know that, I just know what my plan is. Yeah, the condenser fluid it does seem very powerful, which is why I want to see if it really requires our DNA to be activated. And if it has to be like that, like I wouldn't mind taking a piece of my hair and put it in that wouldn't be so bad, but like the way the Gentiles do, first of all, I just automatically in my mind when I read the instructions, I was like, the way the Gentiles do everything is the wrong way to do it. So what would I feel comfortable with? Well, I have a pendulum made with my hair, that connects me to the pendulum, and I'm able to use that. I use that for the earth elements, the earth angels, or the elementals, the earth elementals. So if that's the case, then that means that might be a substitution that I would feel comfortable with. So again, it's all about trying to figure out what makes sense because you still got to put everything through the lens of the Gentiles are going to be Gentiles and they're going to make stuff as weird as possible. You know what I mean? Like, every time I think about the Gentiles, it's like, man, they make they make you feel so uncomfortable when you go to talk about stuff like that condenser thing. It could be a really really good tool, but if somebody opened up that book, and was like, "Excuse me, you want me to what?" Oh, heck no. And what if you're a female? So wait a minute. Where am I supposed to get men's stuff from? Like, how is that supposed, like, how am I supposed to do that exactly? Like, uh, it just, it makes it weird. Like, you just automatically get into this weird, like, stuff with them. Like, even with the mummial stuff, right? Because I found that's in one of my angels. My angel that's over Jupiter is the angel, one of the angels over the mummial stuff. And so when the Gentiles talk about mummies, it's really really weird. Like, it's really really weird. But having listened to a few of Kirimo's videos, I'm starting to think, yeah, I'm starting to think that our whole concept of mummies is wrong, because Kerry Mo did a video and he was talking about how the mummies had corn with them. And then this other guy, like I said, he was saying that the mummies were found with the cocaine laced tobacco. And so if you are, it almost seems like that whole concept is really like stuff that it's like not an offering, but just like, how you give libations. It's almost like you give a physical libation to the spirit that they can come back to, and retrieve in exchange for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, because you're not supposed to cut no deals with any spirits, but you could pay for it, and so it almost seems like the whole term is used improperly. Like, you may have this box where you put all of the things that you give to the spirits in exchange for whatever it is they do for you, you know. Yeah, they has like all this, so it just seemed like it could be way easier than what the Gentiles make it seem like. So I haven't gotten all the way through that in my thought process, but I wanted to throw it out there because as we read these books, we got to retranslate them into our language, because again, um, you know, the way that they talk about stuff is not right. And then they also gave us information that is not okay. So let me give you another example of this. So, like I told y'all the other day, I'm looking at the I Ching because there's another, it's another divination tool, and it with I Ching, it's directly connected to the My Body chart. So if you go to mybodychart.com, you get a actual different kind of reading based on your birthday and location and stuff, and it tells you what kind of person you are. So I'm a generator. I can generate ideas, I can generate energy, I can generate from here to 100 years from now. I'm a generator. I have one of my daughters is a generator. My son is a manifester. My old man is a manifester. My oldest daughter is a projector. So, but the way they use this body chart thing is that it's connected with the I Ching. So I said, well, let me go to the I Ching. Let me read a few books on it, because I don't want to get this program if I don't understand what it is that they're really telling you when you get your reading. No, I didn't pay for it. I just got the basic free one, and then I went on what do you call Pinterest, and they have all kinds of things breaking down each different one. So you don't have to pay for it. Just go over to Etsy, look up whatever they call your thing, and you'll get enough information to get an idea of how it works. So the thing about the I Ching is that um Yeah, when it's so much information out there, it does make you like, oh, do you really want to try this? So when I looked at the I Ching, one of the first things I noticed was that it was just like the Kabbalah. It was like the Chinese Kabbalah, actually. And they even had a picture of a hand in a book just like this, just like we would do the the thing that we do, the Separate, in that book with the labels and everything. And I was like, okay, so you mean to tell me they got this whole complicated thing. They call it I Ching. They make it so mystical and all of that, and all it is the Chinese Kabbalah. So if you and the way that they describe it though is it's like 64 gates. And so yeah, I'm just getting into it because I wanted to understand how to do these body chart readings without having to spend all that money on that software because I don't like it's called My Body Chart. I don't like paying for stuff that I don't understand what it is. Like I want to understand something when I if I'm going to pay for it and it's extremely expensive. And so I was like, "Well, what is this whole thing with the gates? What does even that mean?" And because people who do like the snake venom and stuff like that, they call those gates. And so I said, okay, wait a minute now. You got all these people using these same terms, people who look like us and then people who don't look like us, but what exactly do they mean? And so, again, the I Ching is basically the Chinese Kabbalah. So if you understand the Kabbalah, you will understand I Ching. It's they're two peas in a pod. Of course, the Chinese make it that's the reason why I bought it. They made it super difficult, super complicated, all kinds of things you have to do, tossing coins and this and that, all of just to tossing I mean, really the way the I Ching is set up, you want you to toss a bunch of coins, decipher what the coins mean, tie it to letters, decipher what it means, go to look up the gate to get all the answer, all of this stuff you could do with a pendulum. Literally you could do this the same thing as the I Ching with the pendulum with a very simple but dedicated um see you're a manifester with oh we're the same. No, you're a manifester. I'm a generator with emotional authority. So we're on the same we both got the emotional authority. Yeah, I'm a generator with emotional authority. So um that's very cool. Anyway, but it's you if you can use your pendulum, you can get the same answers as the I Ching. It's just that the way, like I said, the way the Gentiles do it, they make it so complicated that if you try to decipher it yourself, again, like Mimsa said, you could be looking at this stuff for months and months and months and not get anywhere because every book you look at is more complicated than the last. And then when you're about ready to give up, you're like, okay, I give up on this. Like I found the simplest book I could and I understood it because but I no, the first book I looked at is the one they say you should read. I started reading that. I said, this is it's written in English. I mean, it's translated to English, but it still looks like it's in Chinese. I couldn't understand a single word in that book. I said, this is not the one. I got to find another one that makes it simple. I know it's not that complicated. And then, of course, it wasn't that complicated. It's very, 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 very simple. It's just they make it complicated. And when they do their readings, it's just lines. It's straight line or dash line. Like they make it so then you got to move one line because of this and some other rules come up and you move another line. I'm like, how do they get any answers like this? Somebody's got to sit there and do all. If I had my pendulum, by the time finished figuring out where to move a line, I could have already had the answer. I could have had probably a more specific answer than that I Ching because it's not that complicated. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that information along to you guys. And I'm going to end this in a couple minutes, but there's one more thing. So I drew the symbol that the guy had. Um yeah, the yin and yang was the most important part of the whole thing. Is this the right way? Um No, it's this way. Okay, so yeah, ZION is on the top. I highly suggest drawing this and for yourself. Just I just drew it from the little thing that I took a screenshot of it. I highly suggest drawing this for yourself. It's got so much information encoded into this thing, you would not believe it. Like, I realized that this could easily be like a 3D representation of my chestahedron, because it's got a round part and then like it's got a point on the top, and then if you look at it from the top you see the cross as it goes down to the, but see, this one doesn't have a triangle base. It might have a triangle base with four sides. So anyway, this symbol right here, I highly suggest drawing it. It didn't take me that long to draw. I definitely highly suggest drawing this, but I want y'all to look now, gel your minds a little bit. But how does this not look like that little mustache man symbol? This was one of the first things I saw. I said, so wait a minute. So wait a minute. Now, they had this symbol. This is not a new symbol. If you look at it like this is not a new symbol. This is a symbol that they use. So what is going on here? I'm not saying that the brothers just seen this. All I'm saying is this symbol looks like that same symbol from the mustache man and his folks. So what's going on here? What's going on here? What is in that symbol they don't want us to look at? And it doesn't matter because they brought it back to us and they put it in the Jamaican flag. So no matter what, we was going to get access to that information. But I just wanted to point that out because that was one of the first things I saw. And the more I look at this, the more I see. Because I also see the microcosm, same colors. I see the microcosm too. You know, I see a lot of stuff in this. So the more you look at it, the more you see not just the letters. When he pointed out the eyeballs, the side eyes, I was like, okay, I see that too. It's a lot of stuff in this thing. So I highly suggest you draw your own. Like I said, this I didn't use yellow, I used gold because I like gold better. And then I didn't use white, I used silver. But even with that, you've got almost all the days of the week here. You've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I don't have Wednesday or Thursday, but I have Friday and Saturday. So you have all the colors except for Wednesday and Thursday. And even you could have Wednesday and Thursday because if you mix the red with the gold, you have like a purplish color. And if you mix the green with the gold, you'll have a bluish color. So you still could find all the colors of all the days of the week in here. So it's a lot of stuff in here. It's this thing got a lot of information. And so when stuff like this comes up, you definitely want to see if you can identify with it in some way, and take the meat and spit out the bones, or eat the fruit and spit out the seeds. That's a huge, this symbol is a huge find. So I have one. I made some charms and stuff already, and I consecrated this. I'm gonna leave this one in my room. Actually, I'm gonna take this one with me when I'm in my room. I'm gonna leave it in my room. When I go up to my altar, I'm gonna take it with me. It's gonna travel with me up and down the stairs until I make another one. I want to paint one, but I made that one with just Sharpies. You know, yeah, missing blue and it's missing purple, but you can you can you could mix some of the colors and get that. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Very, very good information. And another thing that made, now I'm thinking about colors. In the video that with Baba Haru, he describes first of all, another confirmation that the list of archangels I gave y'all is correct, because he also said that Hermes is Enoch, or Tahuti. Somebody is Enoch, which I know a lot of us already knew, but he also placed that on Wednesday. So me saying Enoch is basically the archangel over Wednesday. Um, you know, that was another a third party, another confirmation. You know, was it the Jesuits? I think that was the Orthodox. I know what symbol you're talking about though. I think that's the Orthodox though. I'm gonna look for that symbol. I think it's the Orthodox. I don't. I might be the Jesuits, but I think it's the Orthodox because you know there's a difference between Orthodox Christians. Jesuits are kind of like with Catholics, and Orthodox Christians and Catholics are not the same. They're different, very very different in the way that they operate. So anywho, yeah, so he put Enoch on Wednesday. He gave him a different color though, so that video was good just to see from a hermetic point of view what color they wear with each day. Like I said, the video from last night, the last 30 minutes, he he jumped so much information in there, you would just be like, whoa, I need to just go back and watch the last 30 minutes because that Q&A session had like so much details that you may need to come back to that. So I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch the video from last night. So I won't hold you guys too much longer, but I hope that this was a good session for everybody. Please keep your eyes open and your ears tuned to see more losses from the melanated hidden hand and the two thirds. And we want to just be looking because again we do have our fast we're doing over here, and we want to see if the two thirds and the hidden hand really take a hit. And so to me it definitely seems like they are being blindsided pretty heavily about what's going on. I would not be surprised if they take a U-turn with this Kanye's whole situation, because they've gone too far overboard. People are now starting to say, "What is the big deal? Why are y'all so far? Why are y'all taking it so far?" So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiro symbol, yeah, it's a lot of stuff in that, man. People, by the time, listen, by the time the Gentiles get to this symbol, we will have slice and dice this thing up so good they're not going to know what to do with it. We're going to have this whole thing just knocked down. So anyway, I just keep your eyes open, keep your ears tuned. Let's make sure we don't miss any small little wins that we can identify, so that that'll help keep us motivated. This already seems like the longest 22 days in my whole entire life. I am very very shocked at how exhausting this whole thing is, but I am grateful to be a handmaid in the battle, trying to open up some doors for my people so that we can have our freedom. So whatever it takes, I'm in the fight for the long haul. And of course, it's an honor to be able to help anybody any way that I can. So again, if you, I know this seemed like 100 days. Like I'm like, how many days is this? Oh man, come on. This is it literally this I was not this exhausted. I was not this exhausted for no 40-day fast. You know. Yeah, he's doing it. You know what? I think that's a huge win for us too, to know for sure which folks is skin folk and which folks is in the two-third category. And so I could deal with the two thirds, because they may be getting another chance or whatever. But the skin folk, the ones who want to, the hidden hand, man, those are the ones that I'm mourning hard for, because they have the has hard. I feel like the harder I mourn, the faster they'll go. And if that's the case, all praises to the Most High, because the faster they're going, the faster our people can start to heal from some of this stuff. So I am glad to see more people talking specifically about how bad these people are. And even if they haven't had the same experience as me, they're still seeing that. Yeah, this is a huge thing, and I feel like, it's working. And so we want to keep our eyes open, keep our ears tuned, so we can see, any little hints that the angels give us, that what we're doing is making a difference, because in the end, that's what we want to do. We want to make a difference. We want to see our people healed. We want to see the restoration of Yasharala. So it's going to take, if this is what it takes, this is what we do. So, everybody, shalom. Have a good night. And to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom, everyone.